see how we'll be dividing our concourses, and we'll be creating traffic flows one way in each direction. Standing room locations have been converted to entertainment zones, and signage will be throughout the venue. Moving to the next slide. There we go. Touchless enhancements. We'll be adding touchless throughout the venue. So you'll start seeing touchless faucets, touchless urinals and water closets, paper towel dispensers. We'll also be seeing touchless controls and thermal imaging as you enter the venue. So it will be a touchless experience, along with water fountains and door entries. One comfort you can also have is that our staff is going through significant training. We'll be doing COVID-19 training with all of our staffs. Our staffs are going to be required to wear face masks at all times, except when eating and drinking on their breaks in areas. There's a health assessment that our staff will complete, and we're also doing temperature screening for all of our staff coming in. Cleaning and sanitization, and I'll use this as sterilization also. First and foremost, will be significant cleaning. We've got Clorox 360 machines, electropacks. We'll be sanitizing the venue prior to everybody entering and upon leaving. Throughout the games, we will be sanitizing certain areas along with the rails. You'll see teams moving throughout the venue. Additionally, we've gone with the Global Biorisk Advisory Council certification. We're going for the star rating. We are in the final processes of receiving that, and let's go to the next slide, please. And it is an accreditation for all venues, and it is designed for outbreak prevention, and we are walking through that, becoming a star facility at this point in time. HVAC and air conditioning upgrades. First, one thing you'll see on our escalators, instead of having staff members who are standing at every escalator to wipe them down, we've actually gone with a sterilization process where germicidal lights have been added to the undercarriage. So as the handrails are used, they will be cleaned or sanitized and sterilized automatically. Additionally, we've added UVC germicidal lights throughout most of our HVAC systems, and we'll be creating open environments in our suites and other areas to provide fresh air. Additionally, hand sanitizers. There will be over 775 hand sanitizer stations placed throughout the venue. They'll be located out along the concourses, throughout the entry plazas, and you will see them, and you can see a specific list of where we have them placed. And they'll also be located in the parking areas as you enter the complex. Let's talk a little bit about parking. Difference this year is there will be no tailgating permitted, no recreational vehicles or recreational activities, throwing footballs and items, because we're asking for patrons to arrive and come into the game. We will be revising our parking lot hours and shortening them. Contactless tracing or contactless transactions will now be occurring. We're going cashless. Along with parking passes, we've added public address systems throughout the parking lot so we can communicate with you, along with sanitization teams that we will have throughout the areas. We have golf carts that will be patrolling to help with social distancing, and we've added additional sanitation measures and hand washing stations throughout the parking areas. One quick update for the media broadcast area. We have reduced the capacity. We've added plexiglass areas to try to increase the numbers of press, along with keeping the social distancing in place. We will be sanitizing the restrooms and the areas throughout the games, along with adding UVC germicidal lights to all of our HVAC booths. Let's talk a little bit about some additional modifications, and this is outside of COVID. I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware. The new sports lighting has been installed in the venue. Over 2.1 million color options will be available now at the venue for the new lighting and LED. Improved lighting along with the additional flexibility on lighting. And I'd also like to add that we've added a 5G. We're going to be the first building throughout in the United States that will have full 5G capability in preparation for the Super Bowl. And at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Ford.
Well, thank you very much, Eric, and thank you. And thank everybody for joining us today. This is a very exciting day in Tampa, not only for our announcements, but I'd like to extend a congratulations to the Lightning on their Stanley Cup championship. And we're excited that they're going to be hosting the first event tomorrow night at Raymond James Stadium with their fans. So we're looking forward to that. Throughout this process, our number one priority has been the safety of everyone involved, from our players to our coaches, to the entire staff, to all the fans that are going to join us at Raymond James Stadium for all events. The safety of everyone involved has always been the number one priority. And that is why we made the decision that we did to not have fans, but we're very excited with the recent update within the states and where we're headed from a number standpoint to open up and, have fans for our soft opening this coming Sunday. With that said, I'd like to thank Eric and Mickey Farrell and the entire support staff of the Tampa Sports Authority, as well as our entire team that put forth the effort to come up with the plan that you're seeing today. And all of this information, it's a lot. And I realize that. And when Eric and I were going through this quite quickly, this PowerPoint will be available on each of our websites, as well as the link will be provided to everybody that's on the call today as well. And we're going to open it up to questions at the end. Before I return to the slideshow, one important fact, joining us today is Dr. Simon Edgington with our partners at Advent Health. And Dr. Edgington has been instrumental in the support of answering questions and just leading us and being a resource, not only at Raymond James Stadium, but with the opening of our facility to our players back at the start of training camp. And Dr. Edgington will also be available for questions at the conclusion of today's presentation. All right, with that said, we'll go back to the PowerPoint. And I'm only going to kind of touch on the high points, and this entire deck will be available to everybody after today's press conference. From a ticketing standpoint, there's been a lot of questions asked. How did we come up with the manifest and how people are going to be dispersed through Raymond James Stadium? And CDC guidelines are the guidelines that we based everything on. And we are maintaining a 6-foot clearance with everyone at all times, including in the bowl. So from a seating standpoint, all of our season pass members will be going through a special on sale based on their tenure with our team. And they'll be able to purchase up to 6 tickets based on their current ticket, season ticket basis with us, but up to 6. So they'll be in pods of people that they know, and they will not be able to break up those pods. If they opt to sell tickets for any reason, they'll need to sell them in those complete pods. Outside of each of those pods, the seats will be secured in a way that they won't be able to be used. They'll be tie strapped up. So each pod will be easily identified, and it'll be in conjunction with the tickets that each group gets. Again, as in last season, will be 100% fully mobile ticketing. This is something that our fans have come to expect, and this will not be a big change, but I just wanted to go on record that nobody is interacting and touching tickets as they enter Raymond James Stadium. Next slide. The step process, or the entry process, will be a 3-step process. The first is a health assessment or a fan acceptance agreement that every fan coming to a Buccaneer game will have to complete prior to entering and prior to showing their mobile ticketing to gain access into the stadium. All this information, again, will be on our website. It's been dispersed to all of our season pass members, and there'll be QR codes around the stadium as at the edge of the stadium bank, as well as in the parking lots. If our fans don't have these QR codes, they'll be instructed. We'll have How May I Help You staff to assist the fans as they approach. But this questionnaire will need to be filled out and completed. And then on your mobile device, you'll get a green check mark. For those fans that don't have a mobile device, we'll have help tents set up with our staff, and it'll guide our season pass members through this process. And if they don't have a mobile device to get the green check mark to get to the next step, they'll get wristbands dispersed at that point. So either a green check mark or a wristband will get them into the point to actually go through the ticketing process. We've put together a very detailed before you go questionnaire, as well as Q&A that has been dispersed to all of our season pass members and will be provided to you today on this call. This before you go is information that will help guide anyone that's entering Raymond James Stadium with some of these questions. As Eric mentioned, we are not going to allow bags. This will speed up the process and also ensure that people are staying socially distanced. Small clutches will be permitted, and if there's any fans that have special medical requirements, we will have process in place to be able to adapt for their entry as well. From a food and beverage standpoint, the number one thing I want to point out is we are totally cashless in terms of our concession outlets. There will be reverse ATMs where people can put in cash and cards and get a card back that will be available for use at all cash outlets, concession stands, portables, as well as bars. And then, Eric mentioned training. Our partners with Legends Hospitality, as well as all partners that are putting together anything at the stadium, have gone through extensive training to kind of raise the bar as far as what we're trying to expect, not only from the guests that are coming to the stadium, but those that are working the games as well. There will not be, and again, I'm not going to go bullet by bullet, but we're trying to make this as easy and as accessible to all fans when they enter Raymond James Stadium from a concession standpoint, and you'll see these changes. In our premium seating, nothing will be buffet style anymore. Everything will be served with servers. We put up a lot of plexiglass, and we've gone through extensive training so people are going to be able to protect each other as well as our guests. Mobile ticketing app is also an added item that I want to really highlight, that people are going to have a choice to order their food and beverage and then go pick it up, and they won't have to have any interaction from a social distance standpoint. There'll be 8 different locations for pickup. As far as entertainment, this is one that is league-wide. The field access is greatly limited to restricted players, coaches, and immediate staff that are needed on the field. So our entertainment, from cheerleaders to the anthem, none of that will be on the field itself. We're going to set up entertainment locations up on the concourse. And this, again, is something that is league-wide, not just here in Tampa. The retail operation in our team store and all the outlets throughout, again, cashless, a lot of plexiglass, and social distancing will be maintained at all times. Before we open it up to questions, I'd also like to introduce Mr. Michael Kelly, Athletic Director for the University of South Florida, and then we'll get to some questions. Michael?
Hey, thank you, Brian, and thanks for everyone for the time you've provided us here today. I just want to start by thanking Hillsborough County, the Tampa Sports Authority, the Buccaneers, and our USF athletic staff that's been working with all those entities over the course of the summer to get ready and to put forth the plans that you have here today. What I'm most appreciative of when you really look at it, I mean, when I look at colleges around the country and all the different venues that are sometimes older and more antiquated and may not have the experts involved that we do, I feel very comfortable and confident in saying that our fans at Raymond James Stadium will truly be able to have probably the most comfortable and safest experience in college football as it relates to all the adjustments made to COVID. And then when you combine that with some of the exciting things that Eric talked about with the LED field lighting and the Verizon 5G network that Bulls fans will be able to enjoy, as will Bucks fans. Again, it's just taking a great facility for our football team and making it even better. So I'm excited about it. I appreciate all the efforts that have gone through it. And again, our focus is providing the best experience for our fans and the safest experience for our fans and making that an elite one as it relates to college football. So thanks to all of you, and look forward to the season ahead.
Okay, with that, we will now open the chat up to questions. For any media that are looking to ask a question, please open the participants window and digitally raise your hand. When you're selected, your name will be announced. As you're announced, please say who you're directing your question towards so we can unmute their microphone. Our first question is going to come from Greg Allman.
Yeah, hi. Thank you guys for doing this. I guess I'll direct this question to Brian if I can. I just want to ask you what the plan right now is for capacity this Sunday in the game. How many fans you plan to have for the Bucs-Chargers game, and what that'll change the follow when you have the Packers here for that as well. Just numbers if you have them.
Yeah, absolutely, Greg. Thank you. I can't give you specific numbers for this Sunday's game because it's based on redemption. And as you know, we extended it out to our most tenured season pass members from 1998 all the way back to our first year in 1976. And believe it or not, we actually have quite a few folks even prior to that from 1972 on. So it just comes down to what those most tenured fans are going to redeem. But roughly under 10,000 people is what we expect. And then we'll be bringing it up to the full CDC guideline compliance with 6 foot and the full manifest under a CDC standpoint, and that'll be closer to 16,000 people, about 25%.
I know this is kind of developing, but I mean, obviously there's news today that 2 NFL teams have kind of halted their activities as a result of some positive tests with the Titans. I just want to ask if that gives any pause to you guys as you continue moving forward with the process of adding fans to the stadium.
No, we're very comfortable with the protocol that we've put in place and the policies and procedures. And as far as, what was announced today by those teams, I assure you that the protocols in place by the league with all teams and the mandates that are put out. And this is a terrible, terrible pandemic, and things are happening, but it's how we're adjusting. And, I don't want to say we expect it, but we are prepared if these situations arise.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Okay, our next question is going to come from Joey Knight.
This is for Michael. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Michael, along this lines of what Greg asked regarding the Bucs, regarding USF, can you give us an idea for capacity for that first home game against East Carolina and perhaps going forward?
Sure. I think the important thing to realize with this unified announcement today is that with all the work that's gone into it, it makes a lot of sense to work off the same physically distanced manifest with few exceptions based on what happens. So the bottom line is we'll be taking it really still on a week by week basis. We go to as university makes a decision as to whether we'll allow fans, Joey. But as we've approached right now, as you know, we certainly have prepared ourselves as though we will for our first game against our next game against East Carolina. We've sold tickets under that premise that we can be prepared to do so, and in the pod system that's been out there. So again, depending on how suites are open, the club opens, and obviously the physically distanced seating bowl, that's where we can get in the range of probably 14,000 or so in the seating bowl. And then the 16,000 that Brian addressed with the suites and stuff in the upper deck, give or take a few, but that's kind of what the maximum capacity will be in this setup.
So similar protocols to what the Bucs are doing, basically.
Oh yes, sir, absolutely. There's a few exceptions based on where NFL has some banners and things that they have as a league protocol that we don't have in the American Athletic Conference. But outside of that, the operations are similar. And I would also say that the same sort of thing would go for the on-field. As you saw in our first game, we didn't have our band or cheerleaders weren't present, but even when they are back in the facility, they'll be in the stands or on platforms or something along those lines, because certainly not quite exact as the NFL's on-field protocols, but very similar in nature and based on the advice of our medical advisory committee through USF and through the American Athletic Conference.
Thanks.
Okay, we're going to go back to Greg Allman for another question. As a reminder for any media on the call, if you'd like to raise your hand, go to participants, and then on the bottom right, you'll see raise hand as an option. Greg?
Yeah, a question for Eric, if I can. Obviously, the stadium is hosting the celebration for the Lightning tomorrow night, and I'm sure a lot of fans want to be there for that. I just want to ask you if there's a hard cap on how many fans you'll allow in the stadium for that event.
It's the same exact capacity as what you're seeing from the USF and Buccaneers. So as Michael said and as Brian said, we're using the same manifest. So it'll be the same pod concept. And the way that the team is actually distributing tickets is under that same guise, which is why you have to go on and register and get a physical ticket. You'll be required to have a physical ticket to come into the venue, and when they're gone, they're gone.
So would that be, I had heard 16 for one and 14 for the other. Would that be about 14,000 as a maximum then?
It'll be closer to the 16 number is where the maximum will be. It's up in that range because it's based on the discussion of Michael and Brian, is that the tarps will be removed that the NFL requires. So that'll be the only change in the seating capacity. But when you look at the overall pods, they're set up identical except for those first 7 rows.
Okay, thanks very much.
One last call for any questions. Okay, that will conclude today's availability. Thank you everyone for taking the time.